Hey guys, welcome back to the classroom. And this is not the lecture series where you and I go through matters of the body, mind, heart, and spirit. We're actually doing for the first time today an interview. We have here Ishtara's very own Dr. Adriel Ramnarine.
Right.
My blood, my cousin, my colleague. We share a wall, and he has a couple of things that he wanted to share with you guys today. So, Adriel, what do you have for us today?
So I was discussing with Roshan earlier. We give a lot of health information in Ishtara, and I thought we could use this medium as well to share information with our patients and people in the public in general. Roshan and I were talking about things that you can do to improve your health. Good habits that you can adopt. But there's also a ton of things that you should be trying to avoid as well if you're trying to be healthy and you're trying to be well. And there are 5 things that sort of, came to mind that we discuss with our patients, regularly, and we like to discuss with the public at large as well. The first one we wanted to discuss was fluoride.
Okay. What you brush your teeth with?
Yeah. So, generally, the dental associations around the world tend to recommend fluoride because fluoride has this amazing ability to make your enamel of your teeth, more resistant to decay.
Right.
It makes it harder, more resistant to decay.
Right.
And therefore, less cavities.
Everybody happy with that?
Well, there's another side to this as well.
Okay.
That's the good side.
Right.
The bad side of fluoride is actually a toxic compound. And they include small amounts of it in your toothpaste.
Right.
And mouthwashes and all these things. But what essentially it's doing is it's going to start accumulating in the body over time. If you use fluoride toothpaste every once in a while, it's not going to cause a problem. But on an everyday use, brushing your teeth twice a day, plus some countries put fluoride in their drinking water, and the public actually may not even know about that.
Yeah.
So this fluoride is going to accumulate in different tissues within the body. It can actually, help with calcified plaques in the body. It can make those calcified plaques harder and more difficult to break up and dissolve.
Serious?
It can accumulate within the hormonal glands within the brain. Your pineal gland, for example, which is very important in your sleep and wake cycle.
Okay. That produces melatonin.
Yes, that produces melatonin. So it can actually have a negative effect on your sleep cycle. It can have effects on your bones and your joints as well. Wow. So yeah, fluoride is something that it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So it's something that we're cautious of. At Ishtara, the doctors here by personal choice. It depends on your choice if you want to avoid the fluoride, if you want to go ahead and use it for its advantages. We use non-fluoride toothpaste, or we use a toothpaste that has hydroxy apatite in it, which is actually a calcium salt that is the same material that your teeth are made up of.
Yeah, teeth and bones.
So we choose to use that toothpaste here instead.
So we listen to the 9 out of 10 dentists that is recommended fluoride. We listen to the
the other one. But again, this is a personal choice. I'm just giving you the things that we tend to avoid to make sure our health stays in a good state.
And there's studies out there, there's data out there to suggest that.
Yeah, there's a lot of data out there. You can go look it up.
Right.
The next thing we want to talk about is plastics.
Right, yeah. All around us.
And yeah, we beat this thing on a daily basis with all our patients, beat it into their skulls, into their heads.
True.
Plastics, terrible for the environment because all these plastic water bottles and stuff like that, they tend to accumulate in places unless you're recycling, which is a good thing. And there are options for that now.
Yeah.
But besides that, microplastics are a big concern. Tons of data out there. We try to avoid drinking in plastic water bottles.
Right.
I don't know, you probably do the same.
Yeah, either glass or stainless steel.
Excellent. Yeah. I try to do the same as well. So the filtered water, the water quality is great that you're getting with a lot of these companies now, but it's just the plastic bottles.
Yeah.
These bioplastic compounds can accumulate in your body. They can disrupt your hormonal system. They are found to be links to certain types of cancer and microplastics as well.
Right.
So yeah, so we really try to avoid, plastic contamination. Putting food in plastic containers as well.
Yeah.
Big no-no. Especially hot food. Yeah.
I had a patient who she switched from a plastic to a metal water bottle.
Right.
And when I asked her, well, hey, that's good job. Where you getting water from? Oh, the big plastic cooler in work.
So guys, make sure you take note of that. If the water is stored in plastic for any period of time, it's going to have microplastics in it. So we want to avoid that.
How do you get your water that is from the water source that is not plastic?
So we have a reverse osmosis system. There are a few companies in Trinidad that do this. Collega and Desaltec are a few. So we contact these companies, get a reverse osmosis system. You can even buy the system yourself and install it if you have some plumbing know-how.
Yeah.
And you can have good quality water in your home, and you just fill your bottles and you go with that.
It kind of pays for itself, right? Because you have to buy a single plastic water bottle again for the rest of your days.
For the rest of the days, yeah.
Yeah. And you make tea with it, you cook with it.
Oh yeah.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Yeah.
Boil rice with it.
Yeah. So the next thing is, PFOAs.
Okay, what's that?
So that's a fancy word for, I'm sure some people may have heard the term forever chemicals.
Right.
So one of the biggest sources of forever chemicals that we're going to get in our diet is, Teflon pans.
Right.
So Teflon is that non-stick, lovely stuff that allows us to use less oil.
Fry egg,
and fry your eggs and all those things without it sticking to the pan. Those stuff bioaccumulate, and it's very difficult for your body to get rid of it. So,
right.
The doctors at Ishtara here, we try to avoid using Teflon pans. I personally use, stainless steel, which Dr. Rushan actually taught me how to use how to cook with a stainless steel pan properly. Yeah. And in addition to that, cast iron. I use a fair bit of cast iron pans as well. I do have a few, these ceramic pans that I'm trying to sort of, phase out.
Yeah.
Because as the ceramics break down, you don't really want to be eating those things.
You know what I use? I use carbon steel. So it's similar to cast iron.
Right.
Same properties, like it'll rust if you leave it out.
Right.
But it's a bit lighter as well. So like
so it's not that heavy.
Correct. So like I have a big wok, for instance, as half the weight of my regular skillet, and it works just as well.
And the thing too is, you might build some muscles, lifting that cast iron pan up and down. So I'm trying to wash it and those things.
Husbands beware.
I get lots of complaints from my wife. But yeah, those forever chemicals, they have been, there are links to cancer. There are links to all sorts of different conditions. There's a lot of research going on to find how these things are really damaging and impacting our health. But,
anything definitive? Anything definitive?
Definitive, not that I've seen so far. I don't know if you've seen.
No, but it's ongoing.
It's ongoing research, but so far it's not looking good. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah, and I guess for me, if given a choice between something that I'm not sure about versus something I know is safe, I think I'll go with the one that I know.
I totally agree with that.
So
the next thing we want to talk about is aluminum.
Right.
So one of the biggest sources of aluminum these days are these antiperspirant deodorants. Almost all of them contain a fair amount of aluminum because these aluminum compounds, they sort of shut down or calm the sweat glands down in the arm.
Right.
So you don't sweat as much.
Yeah.
This stuff bioaccumulates. It's absorbed through the skin. And there are actually research papers that are showing that this stuff is very much linked to breast cancers. If it's getting into the breast tissue, it's also circulating around the body as well.
Yeah.
Aluminum can bioaccumulate in nervous tissue, brain tissue, all of those things. Yeah. So there are big concerns about how these things are going to affect us. And it's very difficult to get rid of these things, from our bodies once they get in. Yeah. So, try to look for a deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it. Yeah. Something that's a bit more natural. And that's how we tend to.
I use a crystal stick.
Advise. The crystal stick is still an aluminum product as well.
But it says no aluminum on it.
So it says no aluminum, but it's actually made from an aluminum salt. And what they're referring to is when they say no aluminum, it's a marketing tool saying to stay away from this type of, it's a certain type of aluminum. They're telling you it's not contained in it.
Right.
But it actually still contains aluminum. It's not supposed to be as bioavailable and as absorbent as the other types of aluminum in the regular antiperspirants.
Right.
But I've been trying to move away from it as well. I do use it from time to time, but I'm moving away from it. Yeah.
Another source of aluminum that I found, especially in Trinidad, is the old timey metal pots.
Yep.
I once, my mother-in-law, I said to her, Moms, there's a aluminum pot you're cooking from.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's an iron pot. My great grandmother gave this to me, and this thing cooked millions of dishes, and it feed the family. I say, but Moms, it's aluminum. And so what we call like the iron pots from long ago is really aluminum. And so I took a little magnet and I stuck it. Well, I tried to stick it to it, and the magnet didn't hold. And if it was iron, obviously, it would have held.
It would have, stuck to it.
Yeah, so I had to end up buying a coffee later. I felt real bad after that because, obviously, I burst a bubble and I felt real bad.
A good way to tell if your old-time pots are aluminum is give it a pickup. If it feels really light for the size of it, aluminum is an extremely light metal. It's not very dense metal. So you pick that up, you'll be able to pick it up with one hand easily. And aluminum tends to have this sort of very pale, sort of, not exactly a silvery, but sort of a pale look to it, light colored, metallic look. And these things, they last really long, but of course, you cook in those pans and you're putting tiny amounts of aluminum in food.
You're scraping in pot spoon.
And you're doing that on a regular basis, you're getting aluminum in your
That's what the flavor is, man. So I would use like stainless steel, for instance, like a curry pot would be stainless steel for me.
Yeah, so I tend to use stainless steel and cast.
Yeah.
Lastly, this one is a bit of a controversial topic. Glyphosate.
Right.
What is glyphosate? I don't know if you all would have heard of Roundup or you would have heard of weedicides.
Right.
So the problem nowadays is that we have too much of these Roundup or weedicide compounds ending up in our food supply.
Right.
One thing that they do, and they've been doing this since about the late 80s or so,
Right.
is before they harvest wheat, oats, corn, what they tend to do is they blanket spray the entire field so they can dry up and desiccate that field faster, so they can harvest faster, and then sometimes even squeeze in an extra crop rotation in that cycle.
Right.
The problem is that they're spraying this stuff directly onto the grain that they're going to grind into flour, or as oats, roll that into oats, and then they're going to sell that to you.
Right.
So that glyphosate is getting onto that seed. So they're finding that the glyphosate or levels in the food supply is really too high.
Right.
Glyphosate doesn't really poison you. It poisons all the healthy bacteria that live in your gut, on your skin, in your genital urinary tract. So it really messes up the microbiome in our body.
Right.
And that has a profound effect on our health and our wellness. And yeah. So our advice is to try to stay away from that.
Right.
I mean, flours and oats and barley and corn, all these are integral parts of our diet today. So what I tend to advise is go for organic.
Right. Right.
So, if you can find organic corn flour, choose that over regular corn flour. If you can find organic wheat flour, choose that over regular flour.
Is there a brand that you could recommend to the viewers?
Locally in Trinidad here, you're going to find things like Arrowhead Mills, Bob's Red Mills, Dove's Farms. Those are the imported brands that are going to sell organic flour. Small amounts of glyphosate in your diet isn't going to cause a lot of problems. But when you're eating this stuff every day and it's accumulating and affecting your microbiome, that's what we find. And a lot of people are scared of gluten in flour.
Right.
Yes, you have people with gluten intolerances and gluten allergies, but actually from our practice, we found that it's actually the glyphosate is what's doing most of the damage in the flour.
Right.
Not so much the gluten.
Yeah, I saw an article saying that, are you really celiac or are you glyphosate intolerant, And so,
or is glyphosate poisoning you slowly? That's what it is. Yeah.
So that's the 5 things for today.
Yeah, those are the 5 things we wanted to talk about.
Nice, man. Thank you so much. I look forward to maybe another 5 things very soon, or even something different.
Well, yeah, we could come up with 5 things that might be good for you, or 5 things that you should be doing. So we may talk about that next.
Nice, man. I look forward to having you again.
Thanks.
All right, man.
All right.
If there's any questions or concerns, make sure to leave a comment, guys. And until next time, class dismissed.
See you.